There we go. What's happening, everyone? And welcome to the Systems Lab Live. This is the August 1st edition, the August 2022 edition. Very happy to hear and see and be with you all tonight. We're going to be talking about process improvement, but first and foremost, we're going to also do a little behind the scenes look at some of the things that I've been working on as well. I can't wait to kind of show you some things. This week is going to be a little bit lax and relaxed before we get into some more of the heavy content later on in the month. And yeah, that's all I wanted to kind of say and open up with. What is it that you guys are up to on this wonderful August 1st? Many people are wondering, how did we get here? And I want to just tell you that time just got us here, folks. So that's all. That is really it. In the new month, and lots of people are doing some cool things. Some people are working on new projects. Some people are continuing projects and whatnot. And so it is really a wonderful opportunity for you all to see what areas, when it comes to the work that you're doing, how you can actually improve process. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this week, which is process improvement. We are still with the everyday work series, okay? The everyday work series is really taking an exploratory look on what we do on an everyday basis when it comes to our work, when it comes to our time, when it comes to our tasks, when it comes to actually going about working every day. How do we get stuff accomplished? What's the best way to do it? And I love the everyday work series is because we're not talking about this enough. So if you go back into my YouTube channel, you'll see a everyday work series on communication, 7-part series. Then you'll see, and that was session 1, and then session 2 um, was all about goal setting, road mapping, and everything in between. And so session 3 is really all about time, task management, process improvement. And last week you heard from a really cool friend of mine, Frances Odera Matthews, certified Notion consultant, where she broke down her process for how she goes about everyday work inside of Notion. And so what's cool about this particular series is that you all are going to see and hear from people that don't just work with ClickUp. You got people who are exclusively Notion, people who are exclusively Asana, people who are exclusively Airtable, and you're going to hear from them and how they actually go about building their business and their brand with those particular tools. It's fun. It's fun. So what I would do is I would send this replay out or send this live stream, whichever, if it's replay or you're catching it live. Go ahead and send this to 3 people who you are having conversation with about, how do I actually go about improving processes? How do I go about improving my time, improving the way in which that I work? I think it's good to have these types of conversations because we're not having enough of them. So, with that said, we are going to start off with a little bit of one of my faves, folks, which is dun, 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 one of my faves, which is show and tell with Ask Ash. And let me just open up my I'm gonna open up my ClickUp thing because I want to see where I'm at with certain things. So what we'll do is we'll also ask you all the question, what are you guys working on this fine Monday, August the 1st? It's actually kind of cool that like a Monday is in August 1st. I will say that. Systems Lab Live. And I want to make sure I have the right Okay, we're going to go over a nice chart, folks. I'm excited about this one. I am very excited about this. Let me bring it up for you because this is a Lucid chart report. And if you've been to the Systems Lab Live, maybe you haven't been in a while. Maybe this is your first time. But in the Systems Lab Live, we dissect productivity trends, the future of work, project management, team operations, technology operations, processes, and everything in between. And so, what I love about what we do here on the Systems Live is that we just take pieces of the process and then we just unpack it, right? And so, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into a particular. Hold on one second, because I'm pulling it up. I wanted to go into a little bit deeper today on something from Lucid Chart. Lucid Chart. Okay. I love this. This is talking about rethinking documentation. Many of us talk a lot about we need to document. How do we do it? What are the best practices? What's happening, Winifred? So good to see you. Thank you so much. So kind, so kind. And what's cool about documentation is that it is a process improvement strategy that you can use for your brand and your business. And I have done an SOP live, and I'll probably have to tag it. What's up, Mark? Good to see you in the building. But I have done a SOP live, I want to say. And hey, I'm going to show you guys why I know where I can find that information in just a minute, because we're going to talk a little bit about some process improvement things that I've gone through. But let me stay on task because I will get off track in a minute. But I will show you exactly why I know when I've done this process improvement or SOP presentation. Okay, cool. Lucid chart. Okay, when you come to the Systems Lab Live, we will do trends and reports and things like that. Okay, how to make it effortless, continuous, and efficient. Okay, many people feel that documentation is burdensome. Number one, it takes too long. Number two, who's gonna do it? Okay, it's the people factor. And the question is documentation inefficient in a fast-paced technological world? And I'll tell you this is that documentation is not inefficient. It's actually what is needed to help leverage the process and the technology when it comes to working on your business, your brand, your organization. Okay? Maybe you lead a team, maybe you lead yourself, maybe you volunteer with an organization, maybe you take on a leadership role and you're thinking to yourself, we need better documentation. We need better documentation because it's going to help not only myself and my job, but it's also going to help the team, the organization do better work. So let's really start demystifying that documentation is unnecessary, it's burdensome, but I understand how one might feel that way, because when you don't have it, this documentation, you feel, when you start to like level up in your brand or your business, and you're wondering to yourself, man, I may need to hire someone, or I really don't need to do these tasks. See, I had to have a real conversation with myself too. I'm actually currently outlining things that, even though I like to do them, I don't need to be doing them, right? And I got to update some things. I got to update some SOP things, right? And so you got to start thinking to yourself, when I'm looking to grow and expand, I'm going to need to make sure that this documentation is set, right? And there's many different forms of that. You can do video, you could do what do you call flow charts, all sorts of different things. Okay. But Lucid Chart is a flow charting software. All right. A flow charting software where you can literally make organizational charts. You can literally document processes. Lucid Chart is awesome. I use Lucid Chart for, yeah, for a good little while before I switched over to Whimsical. And again, when it comes to choosing some of these tools, it's going to be seasonal, it's going to be preference, it's going to be personality. We don't worry about that right now. Okay. We're not going to worry about that. I'm going to close that out. Okay, great. I wanted to make sure I had enough room to kind of talk with you all about that. Um, I do want to zoom in on this one part of this paragraph right here. It says, although documentation often gets a bad rap, effective documentation is essential to the success of an organization. So, how did it get a bad rap in its first place? Beautiful, right? Before the shift to agile, man, isn't that a word? Agile. And I did a mini series of that on content operations just a few weeks ago, back in June. But agile, what that means is I love this phrasing because James said a shout out to Sports Mom. You said it. We're building the plane as we go. That's essentially agile in a nutshell, right? We'll do another end of year review or something along those lines about agile. But just think of it as I'm building as I'm going. Cool, right? So it says before the shift to agile, which means before you were building as you were going, you were doing things in a sequential manner. It was common for business organizations to create hefty documents outlining their ideas and then throw them over the wall to the development teams with little context. Those teams would then spend significant time, we're talking 9 to 18 months, developing a product based on what they interpreted from piles of documentation. So stop right there. Pre panorama, right? Pre COVID-19 culture, that we there were very much agile organizations, right? I don't want to make sure that we leave that out or we think there's a misconception. There are many organizations that were agile, but there was also a whole bunch of organizations that actually worked in a more waterfall, step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 approach. So what they're saying here is that before this shift that we're in right now, where more organizations are shifting to agile, organizations spent a lot of time documenting in silos and then passing it off to other departments saying, you go implement and do what needs to be done. However, comma, that proved to be inefficient because that department that you handed it off to said, I'm sitting here trying to interpret and build this thing, and I don't even know in the context of what you're looking to build. Like, can we just pump the brakes right quick? So, misconceptions about documentation. It's burdensome, it's too complicated, it's siloed, you don't collaborate enough, all these things in between. It takes too long to write. Man, documentation has been a long source of blame, disagreements, and conflict. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I think the question that we should ask ourselves is this: when we are creating documentation, are we creating it for the role or are we creating it for the person? Let's rewind that tape back, because oftentimes we may be creating it for a person who has a specific way of doing things when we should really be creating the documentation for the actual role. So it does not matter who's in it, the process and the steps are going to remain the same and they'll be executed accordingly. Y'all gonna have to take a little note on that one because that was good, right? Don't document based on a particular personality like me and Ashley Schuler. Don't I'm not going to create the documentation based upon Ashley Schuler and the way that she works and the way that she goes about the executing. It should be based upon the role that's being fulfilled. Make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But I think it's really important that, again, as we walk through this report, that we are talking a lot about, how do we make that shift? Okay. I love this aspect, the need for documentation. So, in right here, it's talking about the purpose of documentation is to centralize an organization's ideas and information and make them accessible throughout the organization. This is a good screenshot moment, folks. And let me also take my little overlay off so that y'all can kind of see this one. Okay, cool. Karen, EA in the C-suite. What's going on? The purpose of documentation is to centralize an organization's ideas and information and make them accessible throughout the organization. So here's the deep part about this. The documentation piece is not just for you, it's for your neighbor, your listen, I went straight into a church mode. Say something to your neighbor. No. Um it is for your team member, it is for your team lead, right? And you want to really make sure that, and when I mean you, I mean the project manager, the implementer, the executor, whoever is that person that fulfills that role, that is helping you organize all the things. What's cool about this aspect of centralizing is that you want to get to a place in space where people are not asking you, where is this located? Why? Because we have better things to do. Everyone does. Everyone has better things to do than to type a message inside of ClickUp or within Slack and say, hey, where's this document? We don't have time for that. As we said before, we're living in a agile organization, a very agile organization. And so we have to make sure that we are not being too, what's the word? Overtly passive when it comes to this aspect of documentation. So, what does that mean in real time when we're talking about centralizing our documentation? That could mean for you, your Google Drive. Okay. That could also mean your project management tool, ClickUp. Okay. And others that are out there. And that could actually mean in conjunction using both together, but also being very clear on what's being documented, the intended audience, and then understanding how and when it should be used. Other forms of centralizing your documentation, Tranuel. I think, yeah, that's how you say it, Tranuel. Yeah. That's also a great tool. Small to mid-sized companies use that. They have a way that you can build your knowledge management library. We're going to definitely talk about what it means to build and craft a knowledge management library. And some of that you're actually going to be seeing tonight in just a little bit. So I'll stop here, but I definitely just wanted to go over this report because I thought, this is something crucial that I wanted to um, bring forth to everyone. I definitely wanted to do that. So, okay, we're going to stop there. We're going to stop there. We're not going to go any further. We're not going to go any further, folks. So, the next thing that I wanted to talk about is, how do we make documentation effortless? Okay? And many people may not think, Ash, you already know this is not even my jam. This is not even my jam to actually go and do this documenting. I'm going to have somebody else do it. Cool. You can have somebody else do it. But I think you have to realize too, there's different forms of documentation. I mentioned it before, but we'll go through it again. You can use Scribe, which is a tool that you can do. It's screenshotting, and they go through the process of, you can record on your screen, they'll actually record the steps, and you can fill in things in between. That can be your documentation. That can be your SOP. Loom is also a great tool as well. However, I would also make sure that there's some sort of text or supporting bullet point information as well. But it all depends, again, on organizational culture and style and who's in place and all that other stuff. Whimsical and Lucid chart flow charting software is also key when it comes to documentation. These are tools in which you yourself or your team members can actually go about flowcharting a process out. Very easy to do. Once you outline the steps, that can honestly be a actual your resource that you can use to either pass on or you could use yourself, just depending on the need and the style. Okay. Of course, Google Docs. Folks are also using Microsoft Word as well. And again, step by step, template, boom, document, and then that's it. Okay. SOPs don't have to be convoluted. They don't have to be tiresome. You can make it fun. And that's why I've switched a lot of even my presentations and some SOP things to the flowcharts, because I can put icons, I can insert links, I can insert YouTube videos, and I can really just be creative and things can actually come alive for me. So, very good. Very good. Okay, folks. So, I want to talk a bit about my own process improvement efforts. Okay. And I think another thing to talk about too, and let me just actually go back a little bit, and we talked about process improvement. We didn't actually um define it quite yet. So I'm actually going to go and pull up a few notes, in my Systems Lab Live notes that I have, to talk a bit about process improvement. Okay, here we go. Process improvement. So there's this question of what is process improvement? And I think this is really important for us to define. So, process improvement refers to the practice of finding ways to make existing processes faster, more accurate, more efficient, and more reliable. This practice should be considered an ongoing exercise rather than a one time action. Okay. Process improvement, again, it seeks to improve what's currently in place. So it seeks to improve what is currently in place. Make sense? It's about making things faster, more accurate, more efficient, more reliable. So you say to me, you say, Ashley, well, what are some examples of process improvement? I'm going to tell you. Having a YouTube video channel, like the uploading process of your YouTube channel, your YouTube live streaming process, your content operations, the actual creation of your content, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, virtual event. If you host virtual events, webinars, workshops on a fairly consistent basis, process improvement, client onboarding, membership onboarding. Shout out to those who have memberships. Think about it. What could I do to improve that process? In the words of the Jordan Gill, what feels messy, broken, or slow? Ask yourself that. Course program delivery. Shout out to the course creator, the course director, I should say, Jose, Black dude with a Spanish name. Course program delivery. If you have a course, if you're updating that content, what are some things that you think that you could do to improve that course experience. What is that? Let's write that down. Those of you that have courses. Coaching programs, process improvement inside the curriculum, the onboarding, the offboarding, based upon the feedback that you receive. What's the areas of process improvement that you're looking at? Let's write that down. Managing projects. You know, I'm gonna get excited about this. I love talking about some managing projects. It's just just makes me excited. Okay. Managing projects, project delivery, project execution from start to finish. What is that process as a service provider, someone who does graphic design, logo design work, social media, podcasting? Maybe you're a podcast manager or editor. In terms of the project execution, that project delivery, what is that process from start to finish? What are some areas that you feel that you can make some improvements on? Let's think about that. And this is a perfect opportunity for you then to take out some flow charting software, open up your Whimsical, or I don't want to leave out the pen and paper squad, the squad, uh, and actually go about writing out what is that project delivery process. And we're not talking about client onboarding, client offboarding. We're really talking about the actual gathering of the requirements, what's required to make this project successful. If you're a website designer, a logo designer, a content creator, you're creating content for other people. What is that process from start to finish? What are the phases of that? Do you have certain checks and balances, so to speak, to make sure that the client is looped in to ensure that we're on the right track in terms of what we're creating? We got to be thinking about these things in terms of project delivery. Exciting stuff. We can go in for another 20 to 25 minutes on that, but we're not. We're going to stay on task. Okay. And what does process improvement do? I tell you what, folks. I tell you what, you're going to need to write this down. Removes redundant tasks. So it reduces wasteful time. Oftentimes, when we are looking at a process, we may say to ourselves, I feel like I'm doing double time. And you just don't have that time. Reduces time. Okay. That's what process improvement does. You might be doing inside of the process itself, right? So let's say, for example, for maybe speaker management for a virtual event, let's break this down. Maybe before it was, send me an email if you are interested in speaking. And you have, you're going through, the different emails and, evaluating people, boom, 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 boom. It's taking a lot of time. Second round of doing your virtual event, you decide, boom, let me get myself a process. Let me get myself a landing page. Let me get me a Airtable form and have people apply, and then have me like a little, maybe two other people help me to evaluate the speakers. Now it seems like you got a process in place. Okay. And so with that said, you're going to spend less time on things and tasks that are going to take up too much of your time. And you're going to actually put steps in place that's going to reduce unnecessary tasks. Is that a CRM? Good question, AP. Good question. Airtable is not. Well, I take that back. Airtable can be created to be a lightweight CRM. And probably my Airtable gurus out there would probably tell me, ain't nothing lightweight about Airtable. But I would probably say my Airtable skill set is probably at like a 5. Probably at a 5. But you can create a CRM with Airtable. And one of the coolest features about Airtable is its forms. But there's many other great features. And I'll show you a little bit about what that looks like in a minute. Good question, though. Adds approval steps to ensure quality. Now, depending on your process, you might need to have a little approval step to make sure that what you're producing is quality work, and make sure that you're not putting anything out that's like that you'd be ashamed of. Increase transparency and alignment. Enough said about that, right? Increase transparency and alignment. When you have process improvement, you are peeling back the curtain. You are not hiding. You're not creating the process in a silo. You are essentially taking out what's not working and realigning that process so that you are more efficient. Make sense? Makes sense. Okay, so another thing, let me go back and let me just show you a little example of a little process improvement. I'm going to go and pull something up. But in the meantime, in between time, talk to me in the chat about what type of process improvement are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? I'm gonna find something right quick. So tell me what you're thinking about when it comes to process improvement. What types of things come to mind? Right? What types of things come to mind? What types of things? Okay, I think I can show this one. I think I can. I feel like we may me. Hold on, let me get a little water, folks. Let me see. Okay, podcasting workflow. Okay, this might be a good one too. I will we'll do two things. We'll do two things. I'm gonna share my screen. What's up, Robert? We'll do the YouTube ClickUp workflow. All right, guys. So this is behind the scenes of my own process. Here's how I have set it up. Whoop. See, we're going. Hold on, make sure y'all can see that. Okay, you got to go in a little bit. We'll go in a little bit more so you guys can kind of see. So here's how I'll just walk you briefly through how it's set up inside of ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management tool. This is my hierarchy. So I have this in my spaces content ecosystem, folders live stream. The list is YouTube live stream. The views I have are calendar, board view, and what else? Docs. Okay. Now, in terms of workflow, this is where we're at. To do, which is essentially to do, in progress, and incomplete, right? So for me, I wanted to create a workflow that was simple, but I knew I needed more steps in the process. So I wanted to to have the draft concept, in progress, outline the show segments, outline the whimsical presentation, create the graphic, download files to restream. Oh, I'm using StreamYard now, so I got to update that. And then create 2 to 3 pieces of content. Add to ClickUp list via automation. So I ended up actually Xing this out, like literally Let me put a X on here. No, that's not it. How do you do a little X? Error, maybe? Oh, well. We'll put this right here. I ended up actually not doing this because I didn't find it to be helpful. So, this is a cool thing about process improvement is that like you get to try out stuff and see how it works. If you don't like it, then you don't like it. It just became inefficient, so I didn't do it. Make sense? So, once I set this up and I had the process down, then I knew what to do. A couple things that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure I didn't forget any steps. So I created a task template inside ClickUp that essentially told me what I needed to do and how I needed to do it. Why? Because I just didn't want to think about what I had to do next. That was simply it. That was simply it. So that's what I have. So that's one example of that. I'm going to stop sharing. Another thing is with podcasting. We're going to go into the podcasting and talk a little bit about process improvement there as well. You might be saying to yourself, this is a lot going on. But it makes sense. This is what I'm talking about with the beauty of really creating this as an SOP. Let me go in a little bit more. Okay. So this is a pre-production. This is sort of where the prep goes, right? So I do something where I create podcast invitations and I usually am sending them out either text, email, Instagram, LinkedIn DM, whatever. And I'm sending them out to people. And I got a little decision. Maybe they make a decision, yes or no. People can say no. It's fine. So I love this right here. Phase 2, post with womp womp. I love it. But if it's yes, okay, then the client books the podcast date via a website link via Acuity. So I want to pause right there because I want to make sure that you all understood this part in terms of process improvement. So here was my issue. I felt as though some of my podcast guests, and disclaimer, all of them were fantastic. I felt that my information was too big, like I had too much going on. Like I had a really large email that I would automatically send that had like 8 paragraphs. It was ridiculous. Once I started looking at that, I was like, you know what? Are people really going to read this? And I had one part of the email that was like literally in red. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know who would read this. I probably would read it if somebody sent it to me. That's the funny part. But I have to always think about other people and their learning styles and how they digest information. And I never want it to be where it's like coming on my podcast, you got a whole lot of paperwork, you got a whole lot of business. So now what I've done is I have sent a page. I got a page now. That's like a backlink on my website that basically is like book an appointment, has a schedule right there, and then it has all of the podcast information that I want to share. That and it's awesome. It really is. Let me see if I could actually pull that up. I don't know if I can, but we will see. AshleySchuler.com/. Ooh, yes. It popped up. And like this was really instrumental, folks. This was really instrumental. So shout out. Let me see something. Stop. Share screen. Boom. Okay, so this is a back page right here where um, an individual comes and they book the appointment, okay? And they go and they, play the video. I got like a little preparing to pod the conversations experience, audio and equipment. We're using Squad Cast, so I'll have to update that. And here's like a little tutorial on how people can use a platform. And then this is the guest submission form. So that was another big thing, was that I would need to collect like guest information. Just information like headshot, that type of thing, so that assets could be prepared. So that was like a cool process improvement thing that I did. So I thought it was pretty sweet. And I felt, again, I did that also for Systems Lab Live as well. So I just sent that off to somebody. Easy peasy, right? Systems Lab Live, same thing. Gotta have the video, my scheduler, boom. Like, here's what I'd love for you to do. Fill out this information. I'll see you on that date. And I'm pretty, when it comes to the Systems Lab Live, and it comes to some of that information, that's just what it is. It's being able to understand, how can you make the experience of the person that you're inviting on your platform easier. And so that's what I wanted to do. I'm going to break for questions that people may have. What questions do people have about this? Let's talk a little bit. And then we're going to talk about another process improvement thing that I've been working on. That's pretty cool. But I want to get questions, comments, concerns. I'm lost. Anybody lost? No? Yes? Y'all feel good? Just let me know. How you feeling? Y'all good? Okay. Feel like y'all are good though. All right. Y'all are good. Cool. Okay. So we're going to share something else, which, again, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited. Okay. What are you looking at? What, pray tell, are you looking at? I don't even know if that's quite the word I should be using, but we're going with it. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's an honest confession. I have a thing about tracking. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like a must have. Like, should I, but, and here's the question you can ask me anytime you see me out in these streets, internet or in real life, you can ask me the question, Ashley, is it always necessary for you to be tracking all the things? It may not always be necessary, which is why I probably have not gone as far as I'd like to in some other areas of tracking. But I like to track all the information, track all the things, because I feel as though I may need something. That's truly, and I just find it to be cool. So, okay, so here's the thing that came to my mind like 3 months ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, I don't know. But in my mind, I was like, I need to create a repository of presentations. What have I spoken about? What have I created? What are my live stream topics? Okay. And I said, AT, that's my nickname for Airtable. AT is going to get me where I need to be. I need a repository of presentations. Now, something that I've been super good at doing is saving, like when I used to do my Instagram lives, I would save it, put it in a folder, all that good stuff. And I have that. I have that's pretty, that's pretty organized. Yeah, we'll probably say it's like 80% there for those playbook live streams. But I will say this, when I started this live stream on YouTube, oh, for sure, what I did was I created a Dropbox folder, and I have like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and I have the MP4 and the MP3. I do that. That is my routine. After I log off, I download just in case this system blows up. I got all the data. Okay. But when I started thinking about topics that I've presented on, things that I've taught, I've done live streams on, I was like, I gotta recall. I gotta recall doing it, and I gotta like rely on my own memory, and that was kind of getting me a little whacked out. So I was like, let me go ahead and create this repository that just goes through like what the topics are. Now, I probably will not right now. I probably will leave that to a task that maybe somebody can assist me with, which is essentially adding another column that actually has the actual live stream thing in there. But let's walk through all of this so that you guys can kind of see, like what's going on, like what am I so excited about. So this is Systems Lab Live and the Playbook Live mixed together. But this is really like all the presentations and the live streams that I've done. So I did that since, hold on, because we got this tab over here. So I did this since, okay, this is kind of weird. I got to figure out how to do this. So July 2020, that's when I first went live. Excuse me. That's when I first went live. So July 19th, 2020, that's when I first went live. And so I have information from another synced database. I just synced it in a brand new one because I'm creating my own Systems Lab epicenter of information. So it has all of that information there. And then the next tab over, boom, picks up July 2021. And it has the month, the date, the content bucket, the series, the platform, and the format. So let me review all these things. And I actually might, I don't know if I'll, no, I don't know. I may just say, maybe this is just theme. How about we do that, Ashley? Let's just name that theme. Ooh. Oh, Lord. Oh, okay. Hold on. Can this be title? Title. Okay. And then this is theme. Okay. I think that works. Okay. Let's sort of break this down, shall we? Number one, for educational purposes, Airtable is a no-code tool that you can use to manage projects, to create a CRM, to manage your content, track your content, do all sorts of things within Airtable. So one thing that I'd like to show you guys that I'm doing is I wanted a way where I could actually go back and recall what are the types of live streams that I did July 2021. Well, it looks like I did about 11 live streams that month. I was doing the anniversary of me live streaming. So all the things that you see, change the game. So you see 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. All of these things were live streams. Thank you so much, AP. I appreciate that greatly. And let me, I just wanted to go in a little bit more so you guys could see. I think you guys can see a little bit better with this. Okay, cool. So, all right. So I wanted the month, and then I wanted the date of when I did it, and then I wanted the theme. Why is that important? Because I will probably do some sort of, what do you call, a pie chart thing about the topics that I've talked about the most, what have you. Was this a part of a series? Sometimes I have a series, Managing Time and Tasks. Change the Game was a series, and then the platform. And at the time, I was doing 2 live streams. Yeah, I was going live at 2 o'clock on Instagram, and at 6 p.m. the private Systems Lab 1.0, where it was just a Zoom call. So that's why it says Systems Lab 1.0. Which, okay, let me customize this field. And okay, Systems Lab Live. Okay, cool. So Systems Lab Live 1.0, and then you'll see Systems Lab Live 2.0. I think that's how I have it. And something that I may do, and again, I may outsource this out, is I may actually put a link. That link could be a YouTube link, or I could add a, what is it, attachment? Or I could add an attachment, or it could be video. And I could, you know, add something where if I wanted to add the actual video, I could. I may not. It could be overkill. I don't know. But yeah. So here we go. August. And yeah, August, the same thing. And what I did and how I did this, which I actually thought this was going to take me a crazy amount of time, but I actually was able to pull information from a couple different sources. Pull information from the Instagram posted content base that I have in Airtable, which basically captures everything that I put on Instagram. So anytime I had a graphic that said Systems on Live, I would open that up. At the time when I was doing Systems Lab 1.0, I was using Active Campaign to send out reminders, and I had themes. So I would go and I took that information and put that in here. So between Airtable and the emails, I figured it out of when I went live. So yeah, Sunday kickbacks. There really wasn't a series. So you saw right here, like 8-1 was a co-working session. 8-8 co-working in, I went live. So you kind of saw that. Sunday Fun Day. So what was this? Hold on one second. Co-working sessions were Systems Lab Live, Sunday Fun Day. I think this was the playbook, actually. Yeah, if it's Instagram, it was definitely the playbook. So that's what we have here, right? So I went from there to September. September, I only did like 2 things because why was that? Oh, I decided I was going to prep to go on to YouTube to start live streaming on YouTube. So that was happening there. So I only went live twice. Yeah. Okay. Same thing here. Yeah. Instagram Live. And yep. First live stream, October 8th. October 8th, LinkedIn and YouTube. I don't believe I was doing any live streams. I think I just cut off doing the live streams on LinkedIn. Sorry. I stopped doing the live streams on Instagram, like, I think December. But that's really it. So this is going to help me, again, process improvement. This is actually going to help me with finding topics that are most popular that I can actually go about and make notes on. And I can actually go and see what topics had great ratings, and I could be able to set things up like that. I can also begin to look at, what are the most popular topics so I can create workshops, presentations, and things like that. So I think there's more to be done on this. And I probably want to, and I may do this where I may want to link some of some YouTube insights into here as well. But thank goodness there is a Slack Airtable group where I could talk about these things and get some advice. But this was a great way to, again, when it comes to process improvement and really looking at it from the perspective of, I want to make sure that I understand, what do I have content wise? What have I spoken about? What have I taught on? What have I teached? Well, that's not even a word, child. What have I what have I did a workshop on, all these things in between. What are my top live stream topics? And then this is also super going to help me with podcasting. So I'm going to be taking these topics and I'm going to be creating podcast seasons out of them. And that was really a huge hump for me in terms of being able to figure out what's going to be the next podcast move for me. I need to figure out, what have I talked about. And so the repository is fire. It's fire. This right here, lesson 1, lesson 2, these were like some of the early days, right? I'll go back and like find out what the topics were. But this is when I was like flying loose and fancy free. And so I had to figure that out as well. Let me see. I'm going to show you all how I figured out like the topic names. How do I figure out? Okay, so I'm going to open up a base. I'm going to open this up. Stop the screen. Share the screen. Stop the screen. Share the screen. Stop the screen. Share the screen. Okay. Month view, Instagram. And if we're going to be totally honest, we're probably like 80% pleased with how this is built. But we're not going to, we don't have time to do process improvement right now to focus on what the solution is, right? For this particular month. Not at all. So I'm going to go into, and I think I've grouped them in a weird way. So it's like, pardon me for that, because I'm like, I don't really know. I want to figure out, I think it was May I'm looking at. I'm trying to find May 20. 20. This is 2019. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go. So if I were to go back, okay, so I have March 2020. Man, I was just out here in these streets, man. How to get stuff done. So that was the topic, how to work together remotely. March 22nd. That was exactly how to get stuff done. Oh, you know what? That's a sync base. Hold on. Let me go back. Systems Lab Live. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Right here. How to GSD working together remotely. Right. And so that was that. So we figured that out. And guess what? I'm going to sync it like so. Sync. Let's see what happens. Ooh, it updated. I love it. Now, let's go back over here. What did I do for week 4? Did I do anything for week 4? I feel like I had a systems lab. Oh, what's this? The value pack. Systems lab, online study hall every Sunday at 7. Oh, I did the Chefpreneur event. I was doing all the things. Did I have a theme? What did I say up in here? Man, that was it. I think it was just systems lab. I don't know if I had a theme for that. I don't think I did. So that's how I would go and pull the content up and figure out what I was speaking about. So, all right, y'all. This was a full session. I tell you what, a super full session. I am going to stop share. What did I used to do here? I used to do things like tag. If people tagged me, I would want to know if people tagged me. So I would send a Zapier. And so I think I stopped that one because I was like, not a lot of people were tagging me, but I wanted to know who was tagging me. So the last one was shout out to Aaron, the artist, who tagged me. And what did he tag me in? Oh, look at this. When things look bleak, you have 2 options: run away or dig in it and ride out. Life will throw you haymakers at you, but as long as you keep getting back up, you'll be all right. Good morning to every single person reading this. Appreciate you all. Oh, and then it captured the URL. I'm gonna see if that's still up. Yep. That's dope. That's super cool. Jason Mitchell, how are you? How are you? So that's all that I'm going to be talking about today. We're done for tonight's live stream. I didn't even think I was going to go OT over a couple minutes over an hour. But Wednesday, we're going to talk about what are the steps for process improvement. What's up, Kurt? So I found a diagram and we're going to go through it. And we're going to go through it step by step and ask some questions. Make sure you share the YouTube live stream with your favorite person that you collaborate with, that you create content with, that is your business friend, or of what the people say, biz bestie out in these streets. So that's it. We'll talk soon. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll talk soon. Bye. Bye, y'all. We'll see each other.